This is the Solo Coach podcast, where it's all about everything you need to build your business solo. Look, building a business alone can feel almost impossible. There's just so much to get done. That's just your doubt talking. I'm Michelle Sarah, and I'm here to talk you through building a one-woman coaching business from the ground up. I'm talking marketing, time-saving systems, AI shortcuts, client attraction, energy, and belief, all to help you find your way, no matter your age, stage, or starting point. Ready? Let's get going. Forget the price ladder. Build your offers around client capacity instead. I call it capacity-based ascension. I know it sounds rather woo-woo, but it's not, I promise. But let me explain. There's this idea in the coaching industry that keeps getting recycled. Raise your prices, create a succession of higher and higher pricing, then raise them again. That's how you grow your coaching business. And, I'm not against raising your prices. That's not what this is about. I think you should absolutely charge what the transformation is worth. You should have different priced programs. But I want to bring to your attention this very different concept of capacity-based ascension to give you a different perspective if you find yourself getting stuck in the pricing game, like of how you price your programs and products and services. So, I really, really get it. It's when we're told to price higher, at a price level that you're completely uncomfortable with, and you're told that this signals authority and that clients who pay more will value the work more, and that raising your rates is the sign of success. And there is this thing of perceived value when you're pricing, right? We have seen, and there are studies to show this, that people can be given a price for a product or program or digital product that's super low, and they don't buy, and then you triple the price and suddenly they're buying because it must be super valuable, right? And if it's priced really low, it's really not worth all that much. So there is this kind of fine line. And although, I have programs and products and services that are priced very low, not services so much, but certainly low tier, right? Products and programs. And that serves a purpose too. But I think a lot of coaches get really stuck in this place of how to price. And so that's what I know I keep getting off track, but that's what we're going to get to today, I promise. So again, we're often told that raising your rates or pricing really high is the sign of success. But what if that's not the full story? I look at this by comparing two things: a successful coaching business versus a transformational coaching business. So I want to say that again. I look at this by comparing two things: a quote successful coaching business versus a transformational coaching business. One looks good on paper. The other actually changes lives. And it requires that you have a certain kind of awareness. I'm talking about the one that actually changes lives, like a transformational coaching business. And it isn't something that you necessarily get all at once, or it does, again, just like so many things in growing a business, it takes time. But what if growing a transformational coaching business isn't about price at all, but rather it's about creating offers that match your clients' capacity to actually change, and they only elevate or ascend based on their readiness to do so? I know, might be a little controversial, but hear me out, because here's what I do know. True transformation doesn't happen because someone pays more. It happens when the offer meets them where they are and helps them step into more. So think about it. You may have experienced this. I know I sure have. You invest in a program you're not really ready for. And yes, sometimes that can stretch you and be a good thing. It can push you forward. But most often it just leaves you behind, and that doesn't feel good at all. And that happens when there's a whole lot of selling going on without attention to where the person or the potential client is, right? And whether they're actually have the capacity to take on this program and move to another level. Some of the most overwhelmed clients that I have ever seen were the ones who paid the most. 100% true. In all of my years of coaching, I have worked with clients who have paid as much as $200,000 to be in a program, and the most overwhelmed clients that I have seen, as I said, are the ones who paid the most. And it wasn't because they weren't serious or because they didn't care how much they paid, right? It didn't matter to them, or for that matter, that they weren't, let me see how to say this. It wasn't that they weren't capable, but it's a matter of capacity and readiness. So it was because the coaching program required a level of readiness, emotional, energetic, or even logistical, that they didn't have built yet, or they weren't at a place to be ready for, right? So they weren't ready either emotionally, maybe they had some beliefs or some resistance in place that the course was not going to address. They weren't ready energetically, and that is across the board. So whether that's physical energy, mental energy, or even just energy around belief, like I said, and the course was not designed to address that. And then of course logistical. So maybe they are a brand new coach and they need to have like some of their messaging and their offers figured out and tested, like proven and validated before they go into this bigger program to really scale. If they don't have that foundational stuff in place, it's just going to be completely overwhelming and very, very discouraging and frustrating. And it's going to leave them probably in a worse place than when they started. So hopefully that makes sense. Like that there's this level of readiness emotionally, energetically, or logistically, or multiples of those, right? That your clients aren't going to have. Some will have them, one or two of them, some will not. And you really do need to look at your coaching offers in terms of this readiness. And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper. So I've been that client too. It's because it's very normal and it's very much human nature to want to be that coach, right? Who is in that high level program and succeeding and just growing their business faster than ever. It's very, very normal to want to be that. But it's another thing if you don't have the capacity to be that just yet, right? Investing in a high ticket program, thinking it was the next step, when what I really needed was clarity, calm, and capacity building first. Like I said, I've been that client too. In coaching, we're told that premium pricing leads to premium results, and sometimes paying more holds your feet to the fire. It's true, yes. But it's not always the case either. So here's something to consider. People can pay more than they're ready to receive. So I suggest that your offer strategy addresses more than money. As I said at the very beginning of this, you should have an offer stack, right? If you're struggling to price those or even figure those out, look at it from this capacity ascension or capacity-based ascension perspective first. And like I said, we're going to get into that. Capacity is actually more than financial. Yeah, because mostly what I'm talking about here isn't do they have the money or not? That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm talking about is when we talk about client capacity or capacity-based ascension, I'm not just talking about what they can afford. I'm talking about their readiness to receive the transformation your offer provides. So have a high ticket program, absolutely. Just remember that some people who want to come into your high ticket program are not going to be ready to receive the transformation that it provides. And, you have to make the call of whether to let that person join or not. Because ultimately, if they are not ready, and even if it's a matter of like, they can't even do the stretch, right? That's going to end up with not a positive result for them and certainly not a positive feeling for you. And if we're in this as coaches for true transformation and change and helping other human beings, then we want to take that into consideration. So this readiness I'm talking about, this includes emotional bandwidth, confidence and self-trust, nervous system regulation, energy and mental clarity, ability to take action consistently. I want to come back to this confidence and self-trust. This is a big one that I see, and it shows up as this nervousness and over the top excitement, and they want so badly to be you or be, and I mean in the sense of like having achieved the outcome. And they want that so badly that they believe wholeheartedly that you're going to be the person to help them do it when they don't have the confidence and self-trust to make sure it happens, right? To move forward and take the actions necessary. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. But here's the thing though, is you can create, if you identify this in your people, you can create an offer that meets them where they are, an offer that helps them to build the confidence and the self-trust so that then they are absolutely ready to go into the bigger program. Emotional bandwidth. Do they have a whole lot of other things going on in their life and it's just sapping their mental energy, their emotional energy, right? That's something to consider. Again, it's not to say that they shouldn't stretch themselves and reach for something bigger if that's what they want and need to do, but it is something to consider. And it shapes how you create your programs and what kind of programs you create, as well as how you price them. If you want to build coaching offers that actually get results, you need to design them with human readiness in mind. Not everyone is ready for deep identity level transformation. That's why I offer a simpler email coaching option instead of the full mastermind. And that's okay. When your coaching programs or services meet people where they are, they feel seen, not sold to. So coming back to that, like not everybody is ready for deep identity level transformation. But I do believe that as coaches, it is part of our job to help them get ready for that, right? Because that's part of their ultimate desired outcome. And so if we can identify that they're not ready for the deeper identity level transformation, what can we do to get them ready for that, right? That's all part of the transformation that we're helping to deliver. Or I should say that we're helping to facilitate. So when your coaching programs or services meet people where they are, they feel seen, not sold to. Create coaching offers that match and expand capacity. Here's where the shift happens. Instead of building a pricing ladder that pushes people upward, regardless of readiness, what if you build a coaching offer ecosystem that honors client readiness at every stage? Crazy concept, right? I'm a big fan of offer stacks, and I'm only just now beginning to implement a readiness stack instead. So not everyone starts in your highest tier. Some need to build belief. Some need to practice consistency. Some need to reclaim their energy first. This is huge. Some need to get foundational pieces in place so they can take on the bigger growth, the scaling. When you create transformational coaching offers based on capacity, you give people a starting point that's safe and doable. They get to have a big win, right? A victory. A path that expands what they're able to hold. You grow them. You facilitate more personal growth than they would if they went into the bigger program that they don't have the capacity for, which isn't going to create any personal growth 9 times out of 10. They have a way to grow at a pace that actually sticks. And that might look like a low-cost clarity session to activate self-trust. Again, it doesn't have to be a full program, right? But if you recognize that your people, some of the problems that you're seeing, and this really happens when, a coach has a core program. Usually it's like a mid-tier or high tier, and they have a high percentage of people who are not experiencing a significant outcome from the program. And that's because there is some readiness issue, right? And so observing that, you can see and identify, okay, I have clients who, some of them are struggling with belief or self-confidence. Some of them are struggling with structural stuff. They don't have a foundation in place. So that tells me that I then need to create some other offers that help them to move through that issue and become more ready and to increase their capacity. And again, that doesn't have to be a full program. It can be just a low-cost clarity session to activate self-trust, a foundational offer that builds habits and momentum, or a high-touch container once they're ready for identity level growth. When I started to really dig into this concept, it really kind of gave me some big ahas. And it isn't, like I said, doesn't mean you have to throw out your pricing. I just want you to perhaps develop your offers through this lens first and then go back and price, because we get driven to price, and so we start to price a certain way and we create programs we think are worthy of that pricing rather than programs that create transformation. This isn't just ethical, it's effective, and it's very powerful. You'll see more client wins, more word of mouth referrals, more long-term trust and alignment, because your offers aren't based on what sells, they're based on what serves. And I absolutely love that. They're not based on what sells, but based on what serves. Rethinking coaching program pricing models. Scaling a coaching business doesn't mean charging more just because someone told you to. It means matching value to readiness and knowing when your client needs space to grow before they leap. It's also, like, I'll say this, and this is going to be controversial, but it's also being solid enough in yourself and brave enough to say no to a client who wants to come into a high ticket program who isn't ready, right? You're protecting them and yourself. Your next coaching offer doesn't need to be your highest ticket one. It needs to be your most aligned one. Start looking at the offers that you currently have and reflecting on the needs and the readiness of your audience and the interactions that you've had with them. And if you haven't had enough interactions yet to be able to see these issues or this capacity, their capacity, you may not have these answers yet, and that's okay. You just know that you're going to be watching for it going forward. So instead of asking what price feels high enough to be next level, try asking what kind of transformation does this offer deliver and what kind of capacity does it require to work. That's really powerful. That question alone will transform your entire business strategy. The kind of growth that lasts. When I look at the biggest wins my clients have had, they didn't necessarily happen because they bought my highest ticket offer. They happened because the offer was right for where they were at the time and gave them enough of a stretch to believe in where they were going. That's what creates lasting transformation. That's what builds coaching programs that work. Because real transformation, it isn't transactional, it's relational. It's based on readiness and personal capacity. And when your offer matches your client's capacity, everything expands from there. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for the Solo Coach podcast. It means so much to me that someone out there is listening. Now, if you know it's time to do something different about your business, and you know if it is, consider joining me for my Happy and Successful Business Mastermind, where you can get clarity, support, and a plan. I'll leave details in the notes below. I also want to share a free resource for you. If you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, Find Coaching Clients, I encourage you to do so. I'll deliver to your inbox tips and strategies that make finding coaching clients for your business much easier. I'll see you next time.